The 18-year-old Ontario student accused of plotting a deadly attack at his school remains in jail this morning. Police say Sebastian Villa Sr. had access to 11 guns and 1,000 rounds of ammunition, all legally owned by his parents.
So who should be held responsible? Joining us now is criminal defense attorney Rachel Fiset. Welcome. Thanks so much for being with us. So there are new legal questions in this case in light of the verdict in the case of Jennifer Crumbley. She was the first parent to be held criminally responsible for giving her son access to the weapons used to carry out a mass shooting. How will parents be prosecuted in cases involving minors as a result of that new precedent?
Jennifer Crumbley was charged with involuntary manslaughter for 4 people that were shot by her son. And that part of that charge and part of that conviction related to the fact that she had not safely stored the weapons. She'd given her son access to the weapons. And part of that showing was also that she knew that her son had mental health issues. And there were a lot of signs pointing to the fact that this type of incident might occur, and she elected to do nothing. And in a lot of ways, it's a fairly high bar to get to involuntary manslaughter in a case like this. There are also gun storage laws, safe storage laws that could relate to giving a child access to weapons and ammunition that could also result in a misdemeanor or a felony, which would present a lower bar in charging parents where a child or a minor has so much access to weapons. So there really are 2 routes now that prosecutors can take in holding the parents accountable for the acts of their children.
Well, that you talk about the high bar and low bar, but what is necessary to actually prove in these cases that parents are the ones responsible for this gun violence?
It really is the knowledge that your kid could do something like this and continuing to give them access. In their case, it was really egregious. They bought their son a gun, but it's knowledge, access, and really doing nothing. It has to be grossly negligent, meaning the prosecutors have the burden of showing all of the things that the parents would have known, all of the signals that the parents would have seen, and their inaction and their access to the weapons. So they're really, it is still finding that the parents could have stopped this really, or could have at least done something not to facilitate it.
In this local case, the Ontario case, it was thwarted. Does that matter that it wasn't actually the gun violence wasn't actually carried out? I mean, isn't that a tougher case for prosecutors?
That's a much tougher case for prosecutors if in an attempted involuntary manslaughter. That really would not be a charge we would see. But I think this would be an incident where we would or could possibly see those safe storage laws go into effect in a prosecution of the parents for not storing their weapons and ammunition safely.
Look, I get parents don't want to admit that their child could do something like this, right? Like that's a hard pill to swallow. But just in the last week, we've seen high-profile shootings by minors. You know, I think about even the Kansas City parade shooting. Now we're talking about potentially teenagers who got into an argument who had guns. Do you think there will be a trend of charging parents? And would this actually serve to deter these types of crimes?
I think at this point, prosecutors are shaking their heads. Law enforcement doesn't quite know what to do because we're seeing such an uptick with children and their access to guns and deadly violence. And so I actually do think that there will be a trend towards looking to an adult for responsibility for this, because they are really the ones that are allowing the access. And in a case where the kids are not getting the guns on the street, they're not getting them from friends or in other ways, they are getting them at home. And I think there should be something that law enforcement is looking to do to deter those actions of the parents allowing their children to have such easy access to the weapons at home. So I would not be surprised if there is an uptick in looking to parents for accountability, which again presents all kinds of issues that are separate when you're charging someone who's not the actual shooter.
Okay, Rachel Fiset, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.